You know, when we think about reinventing the car, we usually picture some wild, futuristic exterior. But right now, the most profound changes aren't happening to the body, but deep inside the machine. We're talking about two incredible transformations, giving classic cars brand new electric hearts and the much, much harder quest to give any car a new digital brain. All right, let's get into it.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the spirit of that first revolution. This isn't just about swapping out parts. It's about creating something that is uniquely yours, blending that timeless classic style with totally modern technology.
So what does it really take to pull something like this off? We're going to look at two completely different approaches to reinventing the automobile. The first is a tough but pretty well understood engineering challenge. The other? Well, the other is a whole different level of difficulty, tangled up in software, security, and even the law.
So let's start with the heart transplant. Welcome to the world of Restomods, where you restore a classic car, but you also modify it with modern parts. The hottest trend right now is giving these beautiful old cars an electric soul, getting that perfect mix of iconic design and zero-emission power. The concept, on the surface, is just fantastic. You pop the hood, you take out that old, heavy, gas-guzzling engine, and you swap in a clean, quiet, and surprisingly powerful electric motor and battery system. You get to keep all the chrome, all the classic lines you fell in love with, but you get to drive it straight into the 21st century. And don't for a second think this is just a couple of folks tinkering in their garages on the weekend. As you can see from this chart, this is a real and rapidly growing market. I mean, it's set to more than triple in the next decade. That's not just a hobby, that's a full-blown movement, driven by passion for classic cars and a real push towards sustainability. Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? It's cool, it's green, but what's it gonna cost you? An engine swap is never cheap, and doing an electric conversion comes with its own very specific shopping list. So let's break down the real price of power.
For a lot of people, the journey starts with a conversion kit. This gets you the basic building blocks: the electric motor itself, the controller, which is kind of like its brain, and the charger. But you'll notice that's not the whole story, because the single biggest, most expensive piece of the puzzle isn't even in the box.
And here it is, the battery. Just look at that price range. It can swing from a few $1,000s all the way up to 50 grand or even more. This one component pretty much decides everything: the final cost, the car's weight balance, and the big one, how far you can actually drive it. You want more range? You're gonna need a much bigger check. Now, unless you're a seriously skilled mechanic with a fully stocked workshop, you're gonna need to pay someone to put all this together. And it's not a simple bolt-on job. We're talking custom brackets, really complex high-voltage wiring, and making absolutely sure everything is safe. That expertise costs money, and it can add up fast. So when you put it all together, you end up with this enormous range. This table lays it all out. If you go the kit route and you can do most of the work yourself, you might get away with it for around $10,000. But if you're going for high performance with a professional install, you're pushing six figures pretty easily. That's a massive difference. So giving a car an electric heart is complicated, and it can be super expensive, but it's a known problem. It's an engineering challenge we know how to solve. But what about giving a car a new brain? This is where we take a hard turn, moving away from a hardware problem and diving headfirst into a software and security nightmare. Which brings us to our second act. Let's explore that dream of retrofitting cars with autonomous driving tech. This isn't about changing what powers the car anymore. It's about changing who or what is actually in control. And the dream is incredibly tempting, isn't it? Imagine buying a kit that could turn your old commuter car, I don't care if it's a Geo Metro, into a vehicle that can handle those long, boring highway drives all by itself. But that dream runs smack into a very, very harsh reality. To get why this is so hard, you have to understand a key concept in cybersecurity: the attack surface. Think of it like all the doors and windows in a house. Every connection to the outside world, your Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS, even the USB port you plug your phone into, is a potential way for a hacker to get in. And a modern car is like a mansion with 1,000 windows. And this is the ghost in the machine. It's cybersecurity. Securing a car's digital brain is just orders of magnitude harder than wiring up an electric motor. Because if a hacker gets control of the brain, they get control of the entire 2-ton vehicle. I mean, just look at this checklist. A modern car isn't one thing anymore. It's a whole network of computers on wheels. Every single one of these items is a potential vulnerability. Hackers can try to fool the sensors, break into the car's internal network, or even hijack the official software updates that the manufacturer sends out over the air.
This quote is just bone-chilling because it perfectly explains the stakes. These researchers, Miller and Velasquez, they weren't interested in a harmless prank like messing with the radio. They wanted to prove without a shadow of a doubt that a digital hack could have devastating physical consequences.
And they proved it. They found a vulnerability in the car's infotainment system, and from there, they were able to pivot and take remote control of a Jeep while it was driving down the highway. They could jerk the steering wheel, and most terrifying of all, they could completely disable the brakes. This event was a massive wake-up call that led to a recall of 1.4 million vehicles and changed the auto industry forever.
But okay, let's just imagine for a minute that we solve all the technology and all the security issues. We are still left with one giant, looming question. When a self-driving car gets into an accident, who is legally responsible? The technology is so new, we literally have to write new rules for the road.
This slide does a great job of breaking down the two competing legal theories. The reasonable human standard asks a simple question. Could a good, alert human driver have avoided this crash? If the answer is yes, then the car maker is on the hook. But the reasonable computer standard is different. It judges the car against other self-driving cars. So the AI could make a mistake a human never would, but if it's a common AI mistake, the company might be off the hook.
And the result is this incredibly complex legal maze. Think about it. The car companies have all the data on how their AI works, which makes it nearly impossible for an accident victim to prove what went wrong. And what even counts as a defect? Is a crash a bug, or was the system just operating as designed and it hit a limitation? The law has a ton of catching up to do. So when you step back and look at these two massive trends together, you realize what's happening. Whether it's swapping out an engine for a battery or trying to swap out a human driver for lines of code, we are fundamentally rebuilding the automobile piece by piece.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. Giving a classic car an electric heart, that's all about enhancing the experience for the person behind the wheel. It's for the driver. But the digital brain, its ultimate goal is to remove the driver entirely. So as we race to upgrade our cars, it's worth asking, are we building a future for the driver, or are we just building a more comfortable box for the passenger?